I'm Extra Giant and I'm going to be saying I can do Scooby-Doo crossing over with the Justice League specifically and other forms of media. Scooby-Doo has done a lot of crossovers with each individual Justice League, and they have done a lot of crossovers with Batman specifically. But this one they would be crossing over with the whole Justice League specifically. And because of him already crossing over with each Justice League individually, it would be good him crossing over with all of them. I mean, they even did a movie where he crossed over the Crypto the Super Dog instead of the Justice League, even though they should have had the Justice League in it since they were already in the movie just as main characters. And they only acknowledge the crossover with Batman a lot, so this way it would be more original. And it would be good them crossing over with the whole Justice League, and it being the biggest one out of them. And this could be just a sign that Scooby-Doo needs to get an R-rated horror show reboot of it. And with Robin and her Barbara. Because since we've seen so many different versions of Tom and Jerry, it'd be good in them being more original of them doing the Tom and Jerry movie, and it would be good them having some owners actually care about them. This would be a good plotline for the Tom and Jerry show in general on its own, since the Tom and Jerry movie is different from the other parts of Tom and Jerry. Plus, it would be good Tom and Jerry actually being friends with each other and them actually caring about each other. And it would also be good if you doing a Tom and Jerry crossover show, because if Scooby-Doo gets 2 crossover shows, it would be good Tom and Jerry being able to do it too. Tom and Jerry does crossovers too, and it would also be good seeing some Tom and Jerry crossovers. The Tom and Jerry crossover movies are good, and it would be good seeing Tom and Jerry crossover with other parts of Hanna-Barbera, since Tom and Jerry is also another iconic part of Hanna-Barbera. With you just making it, the guys they cross over with is just the different owners in each episode. You could also do Uguchi as the actual girlfriend of Saggy, and her just being in college for where she's been all this time. It's a good relationship with Saggy, and because as you don't have to do Velma dating him, or him dating Velma's sister, and because of Saggy actually being able to stay with her unlike with his alien girlfriend. And you could also do the Hex Girls as actual witch vampires, start monsters on occasion, and with them still being a band, them just actually being vampires now, and them using their magic to help the gang solve their mysteries. Meeting up with the kids that Saggy and Scooby were with, and Scooby-Doo goes to ghoul prison. With Saggy and Scooby showing that they are good kids, even though they're monsters, and they're being good monsters in the world, and that Saggy and Scooby actually dealt with real monsters more than the rest of the gang, so that's why them always thinking that the monsters are real. Because if there being times when the monsters turn out to be real, and because of them thinking they're the little boy that cried wolf, and no one is going to believe them until they're eaten. And because of it being so convincing of things the other guys in costumes does, and the rest of the gang just acknowledge that even a guy in a suit can be dangerous. And you could also make it that the ghosts in these worlds are based on real world monster myths. Like the ghosts of Jack the Ripper, the ghosts of Mike the Spike, Sojourn and Elsa Bomb, Legend of the Mannequin at Mexico, and the Boghound from Ireland, Monument of Death, and the Ferryman. You can also have an episode where they fight against a giant monster, an episode where someone in a costume gets hit in the head and thinks they're an actual monster, someone being a monster to go against a big evil company, someone being a Scooby-Doo monster to become a supervillain, an episode where Verona becomes a Velma for people going against Scooby-Doo for wanting revenge for him solving their mysteries, and you're also doing another episode where the people that Scooby-Doo solve the mysteries of work together to try to get revenge on him. You can also have O'Reilly here to make him a usual Scooby-Doo character, because he would come in handy in them solving their mysteries because of him being an adventurer. He is similar to Indiana Jones, and it would be good, and he would come in handy because of them traveling around the world so much. It would be good there being some other recurring characters in Scooby-Doo, and it was because of the Hex Ghosts showing up And what's new Scooby-Doo is right, they became usual recurring Scooby-Doo characters. You can also use this is to make Scrappy-Doo look good, and then you doing a good version of him, and with him actually acting like a kid and him looking more like a kid. With you doing a story where Scrappy-Doo finds out it being okay that Scooby-Doo isn't as good as he thought, and that he is as good as he thought, because even though Scooby-Doo is a scared cat, him learning to be brave for his friends and family. For the movies, you could do a movie about Scooby-Doo versus the Boogeyman, a Scooby-Doo fairy tale movie, a movie where Scooby-Doo fights against all the Universal monsters, a movie where Scooby-Doo fights against a bunch of his original monsters but them being real this time, a Scooby-Doo movie that takes place at a toy shop, a Scooby-Doo movie that takes place at a candy factory where them fighting against a candy monster, a sports Scooby-Doo movie, and a Scooby-Doo movie where them going up against mythical creatures. Daphne would use her fascinators to help the gang by triggering traps and by triggering locks, like in What's New Scooby-Doo. And she would have some of her badass moments like in the other parts of the franchise. And with you doing her romance with Fred as usual, just as it being more obvious than being in love with each other. Fred would like traps like in What's New Scooby-Doo, and he would also have his catchphrase hold the phone. With him saying him still not having a catchphrase, but then them saying yes you do, hold the phone. Him being smarter than Scooby and Shaggy, but him still not being too bright, him being the bravest size of the gang, and while he is the leader, he is still a good character because of him caring about his friends. And him still being an exciting character. And it only being enough of a character trait, him liking the van and him loving solving mysteries. Velma would be the smart person of the team, and she'd be the least likely to believe in ghosts, but she would be able to keep an open mind for these things and admit when a ghost is actually real, when a ghost is actually real there, and here's still having some moments of her showing other kinds of emotions. Shaggy and Scooby would love all food, but there would be some foods them specifically hating. They would be scaredy cats, but they would be willing to be brave for their friends at times, but yet really counting and meaning something in the end, and then being loyal to their friends because of them just being glad to have friends with them. They wouldn't be the best mystery solvers in the team, and they would be the most not too bright guys out of the team, but they would still be important to the team because of Scooby sniffing out the criminals and Shaggy and Scooby being the bait for their mysteries because of the monster coming after them the most. Daphne and Fred are the ones in love with each other. On occasion, Shaggy and Velma are in love with each other. Scooby is usually in love with another dog, like somewhere else. And Daphne and Velma are best friends, and Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are especially the best friends out of the team. Fred has a good friendship with each of the members of the team, and they're all good friends with each other. You do their town being Crystal Cove and Coosville, and that town from the original show would be different parts of the town. You're then still going on a road trip visiting their friends and family members, and going to special events of their friends and family members, and also them traveling around the world at times. You're then getting stuck there at times and again getting stuck there on the way to other places. With all of them bonding over having such a big family, and with them doing mystery solving since they were kids. You're also doing that Scooby snacks are for humans, but dogs can't eat them, and that Shaggy originally made them after winning a contest they ended up everywhere. With What's New Scooby-Doo's version of how they got the mystery machine and why they painted it like that, and the first time them getting it, and then painting it from the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. And with them doing so many terrible reboots of the Scooby-Doo franchise lately, and them doing so many terrible shows lately in the Scooby-Doo franchise, they would need to do a good R-rated horror show version of Scooby-Doo, and me saying how you can do it, just so they're not messing it up and them getting it right this time. Because they have gotten it wrong a bunch of times before, so this would be good at us getting good Scooby-Doo shows again, and because of them going to keep doing Scooby-Doo, you should do it good. So they're not ruining the franchise, and for them doing the actual Scooby-Doo formula for why with us doing Scooby-Doo in general. So us getting it being good, and if them keep doing Scooby-Doo shows. To be a combination it's going to be saying how you can do some Scooby-Doo movies. So them not running out of ideas there, and so them keep doing good Scooby-Doo movies like Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2, and them not just doing parts from their own franchise. It's like Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island. So Scooby-Doo so, but this time the monsters being real in every episode. With the gang finding out that monsters are real in the first episode of the show, and them dealing with the monsters being real in the rest of the show. And Scooby and the gang finding out they're being good creatures in the world, and that with some monsters, just because they're creatures doesn't mean they're not good people, from their past experience with good creatures, and then finding out about it in this show. Now that monsters are real, and then still being able to solve the mysteries of them. With them still knowing there being fake monsters out there, so not everything they did was a lie, and them also knowing that what they did was even more important, because of there being real monsters out there. And with the Velma finding out that it actually being scientific monsters being real because of some monsters being created by science, and because of things like Aztec and Lovecraftian, and because some things were considered magic at first, but then finding out it being scientific. If you the same Scooby-Doo mysteries and them doing traps for the monster, just the monsters being real and them dealing with it like in Zombie Island. So I'm not saying that the Scooby-Doo villains are as scary as the aliens and predators or as slashers like Freddy and Jason, but there being a good thing about them that makes them otherworldly despite them being humans. But it does make you wonder what would happen if them doing an R-rated horror detective Scooby-Doo movie like The Batman but with Scooby-Doo and the gang. Something that stays true to the original version of it, but it takes it seriously. The directors who would do for it would be just like Joss Keaton, Drew Barrymore, and Sam Raimi, and James Gunn, who did the live-action movies, and has learned his lesson, and is doing a good job with DC. And because of other people doing the DC movies too, he would do a better job with this one, and that directors would be perfect for it too, with you getting all directors to do a cartoon Scooby-Doo so, a live-action one, and even a live-action animated movie of it. So you should give them a second chance with it, and with all of them, it fitting their style, they could do an R-rated Scooby-Doo. And because of them doing other things in horror, it would be good, and then combining those things with their horror movies to do a good R-rated Scooby-Doo. You should just do Scooby-Doo Plain Simple, because Scooby-Doo Plain Simple is already good for a show. And if you really want to do something different with Scooby-Doo, it already being different enough and it being good, you doing the original Scooby-Doo formula, but with the monsters being real. And it'd also be good you doing an R-rated Scooby-Doo show, with them being in a post-apocalyptic monster world, the monsters being real, them dealing with the monsters being serial killers, because of it them also solving real-life crimes. With it being a combination of how they did Scooby-Doo R-rated and Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, and Scooby Natural. So it being done right, you having a good R-rated Scooby-Doo show, not like Velma. Them being a little older, like on Scooby-Doo and Zombie Island, with the monsters being real like Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, just adding in things without getting rid of anything like in Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. And the R-rated stuff, like the blood and gores, as being handled like in Scooby Natural. With you also doing the usual, them being aware of the Scooby-Doo tropes, and them interacting with the crossovers. You can also do Scooby-Doo crossing over with horror icons, and slashes from horror movies. And since Scooby-Doo has crossed over with everyone from Batman to the Harlem Globetrotters, it would make sense for him to cross over with Cujo. With Red Herring being some from the giant, him turning out to be one of the monsters, and so Fred finally joining him as the culprit. And with them also meeting the kids, and when Scooby-Doo goes to girl prison. Red Herring being a good guy now, and them being friends with him now, and them meeting the kids from girl prison, and so all of them finding out they are good monsters, and it being good, and them knowing that second Scooby are right about some monsters being real. You would play off with Scooby-Doo already knowing these guys from their previous crossovers, so them being experienced, and so you focusing on the main story of it. Second, Scooby would be eating a bunch of foods with the Flash and running fast with him. And Batman would be solving mysteries with Velma. Daphne would be with Wonder Woman and marrying her fashion and how awesome she is. To stop the actual Christmas monsters and the actual monster enemies of the Justice League, and like any of their supernatural villains and like their magic villains. Scooby-Doo crossing over with all of the League of Super Pets this time, and them also helping the Justice League to stop their supervillains. You could also do Scooby-Doo and the Justice League working together as Santas to save Christmas, and to stop them from ruining Christmas, and also Scooby-Doo and the Justice League meeting the actual Santa. And with the Hex Girls being there, with them celebrating Christmas together and them being at a Christmas party together. And with the Hex Girls personally performing there, and with them also enjoying crossing over with Santa and the Justice League, and with even the Justice League liking the Hex Girls music, and them also being glad and performing in front of the Justice League and Santa. And them also being glad them being able to celebrate a Christmas party with Scooby-Doo and the gang. With the Justice League and Hex Girls and Scooby-Doo actually being big fans of each other, and them acknowledging how them being in both big deals but in different ways, and them also hanging out with the Teen Titans too. With them not being as good as detectives as Batman, but them still being pretty damn good detectives and better than anyone else in the DC universe. And while Batman is better than them, even he acknowledges how good of detectives they are. And Velma even hacking some of the supervillains technology. And with them also acknowledging Batman and being a good superhero, with them being detectives specifically. Them being more like Sherlock Holmes detectives, while Batman is more like a Sherlock Holmes detective in a superhero way. Second, Scooby being scared of Wonder Woman's military stuff at first, but then them finding out him being a good guy to them, so them being okay with him in the end. And them knowing them being good because they're kids, and it being good even though them being kids, them still being good guys, as because of the Teen Titans, and them all, and the Justice League also acknowledging them being heroes, and them also acknowledging that that the Justice League is superheroes, while the Scooby-Doo gang is heroes in their own way. With the Justice League saying in the end, and we wouldn't have gotten away with it if it weren't for you wonderful meddling kids. It's you beautiful, brave, wonderful meddling kids. You wouldn't have been able to open this case to solve it all if it weren't for you meddling kids. And the bad guys would say, and we would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids and your stupid dog. Then the Teen Titans would say that the Scooby did get away with it in spite of you meddling kids. Then Scooby would end the movie with a Scooby-Dooby-Doo, but then Crypto and Ace the Bat Hound, and would end it with Crypto 2 and Ace the Bat Hound 2. The factors you would use in the movie other than the Christmas villains and monsters from actual Christmas that already exist, you'd do 10 cents to redeem him from the original Batman game. Because it is good him being an original character from Batman the Animated Series, and you would also do the Magician with him going against Satan specifically, because it was a good story that the Magician showed up in. You just need to redeem him so him not being as terrible from the original story. With you just changing the ending so him and being a good villain because of him being a permanent villain, and with it not just being a one-shot villain, and with him not dying in the end. With you making it him using actual stage magic as actual magic, and when the government claimed to go against superheroes like Batman, but then and him hating what them doing to him over the years, so him going against the government, and him trying to go against Batman because Batman trying to stop him at first. And with him wanting to prove him being a better sorcerer than Satan pursuitly, the Tencent would make it him used to working for Ra's al Ghul, but then him going against Ra's al Ghul, and him wanting to do Ra's al Ghul's plan himself, and wanting to get at Batman because of him becoming Ra's al Ghul's AI. And there being more than one magician and him inheriting it from his family members. It being because of Scooby-Doo, Batman did a superhero team, and with Killer Quark in it to redeem himself, have to go with the Christmas theme of redemption and being together. With Bruce Wayne giving him a job at Wayne Tower as a bodyguard. Since Christmas time is the time of our acceptance and bringing people together, and people caring about each other and focusing on being good into each other, I think it being a good time for me to talk about why them having metaphors of different species in superhero media and in cartoons in general, and forms of media in general, and why using it to tackle bigotry. They do different species that look different, and them having powers, and them being another kind of humans, like with X-Men and mutants, and with the metahumans in DC, like the Teen Titans, for example. Because some things are better to tackle in metaphors, and there are disfigured people in real life, and it's still tackles bigotry because of them hating these guys who are born with their powers instead of people who become them later but still have powers, like the Avengers and Justice League in their superhero universes. And because of it being a comic book, it going along with the superhero theme, and for it being entertaining. And also, the government was already scared of different kind of people back in the day too, so this is just telling it from a superhero aspect, so it not being as touchy with it, and so it not being as offensive as it would be if them talking with that specifically. So you're not offending those kind of people in your life, but you still having the superhero aspect, and it's still being there if you want it to be there. So you're having the best of both worlds, so why are you complaining about it? Thus, not all of them have powers specifically, and some people are born with gifts. Some of them are just born disfigured, and to represent the homeless as who are homeless because of people judging them for how they look. That's what the Morlocks are, which is literally the homeless for mutants. And Professor X and Magneto were just inspired by the civil rights movements, and that base is in a one-to-one correlation with their leaders of the civil rights movements of both sides. And it's already there with places like Genosa and Krakoa. Species like with My Little Triple Pony and with Casper the Friendly Goat. And the creatures there, because racism is stupid and it doesn't make sense, so they're actually being realistic when them acknowledging that. It happens anywhere, and what's important is you dealing with it. That's why it's good them dealing with it in these places, is so it can happen in your life. It also shows why there are good humans because of humans and choosing not to do that, and it also showing better with magical creatures and monsters, for example, because of them having angry memories from the war times and from when they were at war with each other. They may be different creatures, it's them still being the same thing because of them being magical creatures, which shows us as there's not really big of a difference between us from different places in the world too. It also gets the message across better because if it happens between different species like humans and monsters and aliens, and they can definitely happen with our own species, especially since we should be working together and not even going against each other, since we're already the same species as each other. And they make them teenagers like in Monster High and Supernatural Academy, because it being a weird time and you start going through some things there because of puberty. So it's good them kids knowing them not being alone at that time, and they might do some of the same things there because of it being a strange time there. It just being bad in metaphorical terms because as to get the message across, and it being good you being subtle with these things. Because it's good them showing you this stuff in delicacy, so them not being offensive to you, and so you knowing it because of you experiencing it, and it being good that you actually finding out personally why. Because not only are you shown it, that you're actually experiencing it, so that's why you actually find it out. They put them in college, like with Harry Potter, and with stuff like Tiny Toons University, because your college years are when you start to grow up. So it is good having something reassuring at that time. It is when you move out of the house and start doing things on your own. And at the time when you start at the things that you achieve in your dreams, and start doing the things for the job you're going to do for the rest of your life. So it is good them having a cartoon show to reassure them of that, and to show it being okay them going through these things at this time. You're going to a special college, like a superhero college, a magic science college. It is a good cartoon trope, and they should do it in more cartoon shows, and them even doing it in some animated movies is just for them having more ideas for it, and because as it being good, them doing some good shows out of it, and so they're not doing any terrible reboot shows. You really shouldn't do it as a cheap knockoff version of Harry Potter. If anything, you should be doing it similar to the X-Men, and with them finding out this stuff specifically, and with them already having these powers. it would be going into as fast as kind of cards and the usual kind of S word. If you're doing it with the original concept pursuitly, it would work a lot better than you just doing in the trope plain simple. Oh, because as a new original concept would and help elevate it instead of you just doing a cheap knockoff of the X-Men, for example. It's not just that they've been tackling bigotry a lot in these past recent movies, it's that they've been doing a terrible job of it, of just being a bigot to the other side, which is still bigotry. Because as you're just doing exactly what they did to you, and it is also bad that you becoming the very thing that you hated. Because if you hate it so much, why are you justifying it? You're literally giving these guys a weapon, and that's the worst thing you can do in bigotry. If them doing it right, then you wouldn't have this problem, because there have been shows that have done this right, and they're actually turning people against bigotry, and it's showing why bigotry is bad. If it's such a serious topic, then you should handle it with delicacy, so you're handling it good, and you also shouldn't be doing jokes out of it, because you should take it seriously. And if your character is suffering so much, then they should be likable, not a jerk face, especially if they're doing good things, so we don't hate them, and because of nothing ever bad happening to them, even though they're being so terrible. And if they do have flaws, as you shouldn't make it that just their personalities are flawed because of them being a jerk face. Like if they were nice, nice and perfect, it would be good, and it would be nice as them not being able to do anything. So them not winning automatically, like them not automatically being the best, and them actually working for it, and them actually getting there, and not already there, so us seeing their journey, and then not being overconfident to it, and them just as making us hate them, and being good at it, because of them, and already making us hate them because of them being such a big jerk face. Because it's not like them suffering from it, like the bad guys, and they're supposed to be a good guy, so they definitely shouldn't get away with it scot-free because of them and making us hate them so much, us wanting them to die, and it's way better than not already dead. You should actually show the horrors of bigotry and actually make it obvious that they are doing something bad, and they should stop it because it's bad, and that is bad. And the main characters should just want to stop it, they shouldn't want to do it to them, and they should obviously not want it happening at all, not them just being the ones to do it. And them of all people knowing how bad it is at all because of it being happened to them. So them not making it so hard for anyone to sympathize with them, and just making everyone hate them even more, and giving them the right to actually giving them the right to do terrible things to them because of them pushing everyone away, when them just trying to help them. It would be good to be more clearly cartoons, because as it would be good for girls to have something to see, and it just being for girls specifically, not the different kinds of girls. I mean, there is a reason why girls liking them, and it is supposed to be for girls anyways. Just not every girly cartoon being stereotypically girly, just some of them being there, and there being a bunch of them, and for fans because they're being fans of that, so you should do it for the fans of that one. But it is good they're just being some action cartoons with a girl as the main character for both boys and girls, and not being specific to either of them, and it being good for both of them. It just being an action cartoon with it just being a coincidence that the girl is the main character. It is bad Disney ruined the Owl House, and they shouldn't be doing a cheap knockoff of it, but Hex isn't a cheap knockoff of the Owl House because of there actually being a princess there, and with the main character being a boy. But if it is going to be a cheap knockoff of the Owl House, then you should hate it. If they're doing something original with it being a horror movie taking place in a magical world, with the main character as a witch, then you should like it. If they're not doing the terrible animation and it looking good from the trailer, then you should like it. But if you see the same terrible things from the other Disney movies, and it's still having the terrible jerk-face looseness, idiotness of the other terrible 3D cartoon movies, then you should hate it, because of it being a terrible part of Disney. Is next door getting in on the crossover, which would be just a sign that I'm for this to happen, and with the sequel series through Gun Adventures Billy and Mandy and them getting in on it, with them also saying them being glad they're being good superhero grown-ups in other universes, and just like finding out that the Kids Next Door's Rose Gallery are the most dumb and pettiest Rose Gallery ever. Because of them going after kids, and because of them being dictators, and them being glad that Kids Next Door exists in their universe, and that them being kids it's protecting their kind. And with them acknowledging that Graham is different than the other physical embodiments of death in the DC and Marvel universes. Jade Armor crossing over with Wonder Woman and Katana specifically because of her and Katana both being semi-superheroes, and with her and Wonder Woman both being woman superheroes that were good even at a young age. With her bonding with the Justice League and Teen Titans specifically, and with her showing her that she is good because she's a teenager, and it also being good, her continuing being Jade until her being a grown-up. With them acknowledging that it being hard for Jade because of her being the only superhero in her city against so many supervillains. With them acknowledging it being good Jade Armor having her friends and family to help her be a superhero in her city because of a bunch of them missing their loved ones that passed away over the years. With Theo getting one of the hero books, X from Super Awesome Man and X from Hero Inside, and him becoming a superhero himself, with the comic books, X bringing the heroes to life. Because of him having a good imagination, and it also being good because it being different from Jade, proving it's good him being a comic book fan. And then Theo gets back the superheroes comic books to Super Awesome Man X because they're going back to their dimension, and saying, it's okay, I got what I wanted, and there's nothing wrong with me just being the friend of Jade Armor. With the characters from Unicorns Warriors channel, fighting the great evil in their crossover too, them also helping them fight against larger villains, with them also acknowledging it being good Jade Armor has her family, and them also acknowledging how different the superheroes those galleries, his dimensions are from theirs. And the Avatar movies are not copying the Avatar show, they just did one trilogy and that's it, so at least they're not way over milking them to death, and it was just a natural progression of the story. And Aang and Korra from both of the Avatar shows would be here, because it would be good them interacting with each other and seeing the person he used to be. And have both of the avatars there, because of the Legend of Korra being one of the best sequel shows. With them crossing over with the new Avatar from the new Avatar show, with us as seeing it after the show ended. So it being good hit ending on that one, and it being good hit interacting with these versions of these guys. They would also cross over the Yano and acknowledge how similar they are to each other, but also acknowledge them being different from each other to show Yano is not a cheap knockoff of them, she's her own version of them. You're not just doing it for a Justice League Looney Tunes crossover, you're doing it for the ultimate costume crossover because it's good them crossing over with each other. You can just throw in some Christmas characters there for it to be Christmas themed. It's a Christmas gift to the fans. You also have the good guy Christmas characters like Santa's House and Reindeer from actual Christmas that already exist.